Here they are, guys. They're telling me it is time. Hey guys, how's it going? It's that time of year, the geese are coming over. Late September. I need to get my rocket stove set up and ready for the following winter. A couple of things I'm going to do. I think you may have, if you noticed last year, if you've been following me on this, I took the flue out into the forging room. I then put a loop of flue going round, and then the flue exits sort of behind this wall in the room. You can, I don't think you probably see it, but the flue goes out of the roof in the forging room. What my plan is to totally change the flue system now. I'm going to bring the flue back up here. I am going to put a cant on it there, and then I'm going to take it out the old existing flue. So I'm going to disconnect the flue now, pull the stove out, take the top off, yard-de-dar, and figure out another way of getting that flue going straight up instead of out the side. And get the top taken off here. Hopefully they'll come undone. Luckily, nothing there is seized due to the heat, so should be able to get all of these off without having to kind of cut anything off or re-weld new studs in. These are little studs, they're like an M4 thread, little 4mm bolts. They're welded inside to just kind of clamp the top down. We are, moment of truth. Let's have a look at the riser. I think it'll be okay. The old saw blade, still going strong. A little bit of dust on the top of there. Other than that, all good. As you can see, there's a little bit of dust and crud down there. But really, guys, nothing that would stop the operation of the stove at all. And this is the likes of this is what happens when you kind of burn sawdust or really soft wood, soft wood that sparks and flickers and jumps, and you get all the ash travelling up the riser. But the riser looks perfectly good. It's like that there is the flue outlet, and what my plan is, rather than putting a bend on that to take it straight up, I plan on cutting a hole in the top of that to bring the flue straight up the back of the stove now. So I'll blank that off. I'll probably put a door on that with some nuts and bolts, then it can be used as a clean out hatch. Okay, Rocketeers, there's the clean out done. Wasn't really a great deal in there. It's always that just really fine black dust particles. The firebox looks awesome. Since it was rebuilt, it might have been rebuilt last year, it might have been the year before, but there's not a problem with the firebox at all. That's the base riser, the new one I built last year, and it's faultless, still perfect. That's the riser that we carried over from the year before or the year before that. That's the one that's made of vermiculite. The little fillets just screwed into the corners to create the spinning vortex effect. And it's okay actually, it could just go straight back in. It's just that one of these, a couple of these little bits have curled up where the screws, well, there's not enough screws in really. So I think I'm just going to take those out. Put some new ones in. I'm going to put some slightly bigger ones in as well, just to slightly reduce that area in there. It's a bit big, I think. I'll also continue them to the top. That's the top of the riser. That's the base of it. As you can see, it looks fine, absolutely fine. That's the total amount of rubbish that was in the bottom, the riser, everywhere. Not really much at all. Wasn't affecting the operation of the stove in any way. Wasn't blocking or clogging anything. So I'm just going to do a quick bodge job on that riser tube. Put it back on, cement it back on. I'll do that when the stove's back in place, but first of all I'm going to sort out this new flue outlet on here, on the back here. Well, I think I'm going to use what was a kind of access plate, I think, when I first built this, clean outdoor, as the actual flue exit now, and I'll close the hole up in the end of it. But what I've got to do also to position the flue, I've got to take the flue here up from out the forging room, and I've got to put it back there in the main shop where the bucket is. Bit of an update on what I did yesterday. I made a new plate for the top of there and welded this piece of stainless steel flue to it, and then welded it onto there. This whole assembly, I think possibly next year, might need replacing. The rust has been forming on the inside, and you know, the rust has been falling off. So it's not as thick as it was, but it will easily do another year. That's the air inlet, for those who don't know. That goes in under the stove and up through the sides of the firebox. So this is the new flue assembly. It pulled slightly this, I was welding it, so it's not as straight as I set it up, but it will do for now. Okay, so the flue, the old flue outlet, which I've capped off, went into the workshop like that. So that went off into the forging room, then a return pipe came forward and up and out. Well, that actually, I can use that, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on there like so. Will actually go on, but yeah, I'm going to put it on there. All it needs is, it needs a section taken out of it to bring it in line with the actual flue outlet in the roof. So that's my job today, to figure out how much of that I need to cut off. I also need to get some fire cement to fix the riser tube in. I'll show you what I've done to the riser tube now, fellas. What I did with the riser tube was I cut it down by 1 inch in that direction, just to make this smaller in here, and I put some new fillets in full length to create the vortex in there. I put a new piece in the side here. One piece was a bit too far gone, the one I tried to move actually, which broke up, so put that in. It's actually okay, this. I think it will probably do another 2 years, this little riser tube, vermiculite riser. Yeah, and it's just literally screwed on, some 3-inch screws holding it all together, and I've wiped the inside with some fire cement. And that will just be going straight back on that base I showed you before. And I've just got to go and get some fire cement to bed it onto. And when that is done, I can put the rocket stove back in place and figure out this flue. Okay, I picked up some fire cement and I've cemented the riser tube in place at the bottom, and I just added that little extra fillet around there so I could just get some fire cement on the tops of them fillets. Hopefully it'll stop them moving around on top. It also increases the riser height a little tiny bit, because it was a little bit low. It was just over 4 inches high from the base of the top. So I can now get this lid back on and start messing with the flue. Well, here we are, we're all back together. So I've bolted on, the flue's been put back in, cowl back on top, all done, ready to go. I guess I'll light a fire, show you how it's performing. I think it should draw pretty well now, with the flue just going straight out, with no bend in it and no lateral movement. It's all vertical, so there should be a pretty good draw on this. 24 hours since my last little clip, and I'm just going to have a little fire in it today. I've just been able to feel the top of the fire cement there that I put in, and it's gone hard, so I'm going to just have a small fire just to harden it a bit. I don't want to go too mad because I'm likely to crack that fire cement. Certainly don't need a fire today, it's not really cold. For anyone out there who's interested in possibly building this stove or wants to learn more about rocket stoves, there is a playlist all about rocket stoves on my channel. There is also on my Patreon channel, for patrons only, there's an in-depth tutorials on my Patreon page, and there's actually a PDF 3D drawing of this rocket stove for you to download. Gives you all the details and dimensions of this stove in 3D. So yeah, this stove will be free heat now until the summer comes around next year, and it will keep this shop, and I'm hoping the forging room, around and buzzing nicely around 20 degrees the entire winter, and cost me virtually nothing really. My wood stocks are high now, good. I've probably got about 6-7 tonne of wood with more to come, so there'll be no shortage of fuel for the stove this winter. This year I prepared, last year I wasn't so prepared, and it just got to be a pain in the middle of the winter going out searching for wood, cutting it up when it's so wet and dry and nasty, trying to dry it. This year we're good. We are good. We've got plenty of good dry hardwood with more in reserve. Some nice woods here actually, but that's an elm burl, but there's a big fault in the back, as you can see. Nice bit of beech there, but not enough of it to do anything. There's certainly nothing wrong with the drawer on that stove. As you can see, it's pulling really nicely. And I think this is the first time that this stove has had a flue going directly up. There will be a bit of smoke coming back from this because that riser tube is probably still quite wet. I'll close that. When you're using fire cement or refractory mixes and you're trying to stick them to some other substrate or fire brick or anything, these stick so much better if you wet the brick or the vermiculite or the board or anything. So when I came to assemble this riser tube, the vermiculite was liberally sprayed on all the surfaces so that the fire cement would stick to it. So yeah, there's quite a bit of moisture coming up through there, I can see it already. Right guys, I'll let that get burning and I'll bring you back in a second or two. Literally 4 minutes later, and this fuel has started to burn in the firebox. Let's have a look. It's a really nice vortex. There's a lot of smoke coming off this WD-40 that I sprayed on the stove in the first place. See that? There's a really nice vortex inside there. There's no heat in that riser tube yet, as I say, because it's damp and it's going to take a bit of time to dry out. I'll show you the flue, which will be creating condensation and steam, which it is. The further back I go, probably the better you're going to be able to see it. Yeah, your camera's just picking it up there. Not much of a wind today, but that's the total flue output, which is condensation, not smoke. and that will, if that flue, sorry, if that riser tube had been dry, we wouldn't even be producing that now, we'd be producing basically zero. Well, where are we? Probably 5 minutes maximum. I'll give you some temperature readings. 209 degrees. The flue. 37 degrees, 39 degrees on the flue. It's in centigrade, which is 105 Fahrenheit. It's climbing, it is climbing the temperature. So it's 207 centigrade, 405 Fahrenheit. And we're still burning them few little sticks I put in. I'm quite pleased with that. It's burning really nice. It's burning clean as well. Now as I shut the door, you can see all the smoke coming off that WD-40. Let's have a look in there, see what's going on. Really nice. And a good vortex as well. That blowback of smoke. When we get the riser up to temperature and dried out, that won't be happening. Well, that's it guys, stove sorted for the winter, the upcoming winter. Yeah, there's no colour in the riser yet. It normally glows a nice light yellow colour in there when it's burning properly. Still drying out obviously, and I don't want to dry it too quick as I said. So you want to know about rocket stoves, as I said, I've got a playlist and there's a massive full breakdown, 2 or 3 videos on my Patreon channel all about rocket stoves, building rocket stoves, the mechanics, the nuts and bolts, and that's it. I'm going to come back probably in a few days time and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do to rip heat off this stove and put it into the forging room. I've got a plan which I'm going to commit to probably in the next week, 2 weeks. I'll come back guys, I'll show you what I'm going to do and we'll see what difference it makes in that forging room to temperature. That's an easy test to do. Okay, thanks for watching fellas, thanks to all my patrons who support me, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.